welcome to the Tuesday, March 23rd, 2010 meeting of the Glendale Redevelopment Agency. Mr. City Clerk, could you call the roll?
Agency members: Friedman.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Chairman Draymond.
Here. And could we hear your report, Mr. Kasakian?
The agenda for the March 23, 2010 regular meeting of the Glendale Redevelopment Agency was posted on Thursday, March 18, 2010 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you very much. And our next item?
Next item is approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
And do we have any abstentions? I believe
Yes,
we do.
Mr.
I will be abstaining.
Okay. With that abstention, the minutes will stand approved as submitted, or as amended, let's say. All right. Next item, please.
Next item is oral communications. There were no cards submitted.
Okay, so this card is on the item, it's the business
Yes.
item. Okay. All right, we will close oral communications and move on to the business agenda.
On the business agenda at 6A is a public hearing, Director of Community Redevelopment and Housing, regarding owner participation for properties located at 212 through 222 South Brand Boulevard. At 6A1 is resolution accepting the proposal from Museum of Neon Art, MONA, and rejecting all other proposals.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Lansafame is back there.
Here I am.
Okay, Mr. Lansafame.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Redevelopment Agency, the item before you is an owner participation proposal and proposal to develop and redevelop property that the agency owns. In 1996, the Redevelopment Agency adopted the Greater Downtown Strategic Plan that envisioned a cultural and civic complex on the east side of Brand, centered around the library and the adult recreation center, and then more commercial ventures on the west side. That plan was somewhat reconfirmed with the agency's direction to establish an entertainment district, with that complex being the anchor at the south end. In 2003, the Redevelopment Agency acquired two properties on Brand Boulevard that could be used as, and is planned to be used as, a pass-through, linking the commercial and Americana at Brand Boulevard to the more civic with the new adult recreation center. In 2009, last September, the Redevelopment Agency approved a letter of intent with the Museum of Neon Art. That document gave a framework to negotiations and included much of the programming that would come with the development of those two properties. On site, we would have a museum and cultural venue. Would also activate that passageway by having the museum space spill out into it and attracting people through that pass-through. Off-site or things out in the community are local tours of neon signage, sign refurbishment, partnering with local businesses, sign history programs, lectures, film series, art installations, and generally other activities that go beyond the site. We've talked about art installation, sign installation in our medians, both in the mid-Brand area as well as potential for the Brand Boulevard of Cars. The Museum of Neon Art expanded their proposal to include the subject property here at 212 South Brand. Under the California redevelopment law and our own local rules and regulations, we're obligated to offer owner participation. That is, give the owners of properties that we wish to acquire the opportunity to submit either a competing proposal or an alternative proposal. We sent that out to the property owners along with our rules, as well as the proposal that the agency was looking at for the museum. We received back from them an intent of interest or expression of interest. It is Exhibit 2, which we realized today was not included in your packets, although it was summarized in the staff report. The owner wishes to remodel the building and re-tenant it with a retail tenant. It is 1,250 square feet of building and about 3,500 square feet of land area. In staff's analysis of the proposals, we did find that the owner's proposal would achieve some of the goals of redevelopment, that is eliminating blight and then preventing the reintroduction of blighting influences with the remodel. However, we did not see that the proposal would expand and take in the agency's properties, would not activate the passageway, and we did not see it having a far reach in terms of cultural amenities that the other competing proposal did from the Museum of Neon Art. For that reason, we are suggesting and recommending that the agency reject this owner participation offer and accept the MONA proposal.
Right.
With that, staff is here, and if you have any questions.
All right, before we do that, let's have a little bit of housekeeping. I need to open the public hearing. After the fact, the horse got out of the barn before I could open the hearing. Now the hearing is open. Mr. Lansabane.
Did I hear you say the hearing's over?
Open.
Oh, open.
Not over, open.
It's the acoustics in this room.
Yes,
The new acoustics.
open.
I'm sorry.
All right. All right. We do have one speaker card, or at least I do. Mr. Kasakian, are there others?
No, that's it.
Okay. Let me first turn to my colleagues and see if they have any comments or questions before we go to the public. Mr.
Question,
Najarian.
just to frame the issue at hand here. We, as a redevelopment agency, when we're planning a project, we have to offer owner participation to any owner of property whose property lies within the project area.
Correct.
And we received obviously a request from the owner of the current Video West Arcade. That is to be weighed against the current MONA proposal.
That's correct. You have two proposals before you, and to select one of the other.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any other comments before we go to our speaker? Okay. Greg Estorian.
Good afternoon, Chairman Draymond, members of Redevelopment Agency staff, Mr. Starbert. My name is Greg Astorian. I am a real estate practitioner with RE/MAX Tri-City in town, and I've been hired by the ownership of 211 South Brand to help him out with some potential negotiations with the Redevelopment Agency. Now, this all happened serendipitously, and it happened when I presented the owner with an offer to lease the space for a national tenant, which we thought would be fantastic and will create a great synergy with MONA. By the way, my wife's name is Mona, so not my wife, but with the project. Having said that, I would like to, if possible, have a day or two to discuss this thing with Mr. Berry from Redevelopment Agency. Won't be taking more than 2 or 3 days. From a quick study, you will find out. And to kind of come up to speed with what is going on and whether or not we can satisfy the needs of the agency as well as the owner. Now, bear in mind that there is a little bit of emotions involved here as far as the ownership is concerned. This is a gentleman with his family that has owned this property since 1987. They have gone through 3 different recessions. Early 90s, in fact, we were just discussing with the gentleman next to me, they went into business when Copper Penny was still around. Early 90s, then 2000, and the one that we are presently in. So I would appreciate it if you could postpone a decision as to the type of the project that needs to be done in there to allow me to help out the owners and work out with the redevelopment agency to come out to see if we can come up with some alternative, interesting project for that area. With that, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Stern. All right. Let me return to my colleagues. Questions, comments? Mr. Quintero and then Mr. Najarian.
What does the agency plan to do with the property if we succeed in obtaining it?
This property is proposed to be added to the space at 216 and would create additional workspace and as well as an outdoor area for working on neon signs. But it would be incorporated as part of the museum space.
Mr. Najarian.
Would it be detrimental to the agency if, in the next 5 or 6 days, there's a lease signed with the best possible national tenant that could be out there, and then this agency then proceeds to follow on its plans with regard to the project? Is that in any way detrimental to the agency at this point?
However, it would affect value when you try and acquire the property. The property is valued now, given its highest and best use, which I think is its existing use, commercial use. If you had a national tenant that came in that was paying a lot of money, that may affect the value of the property.
Mr. Weaver. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Mr. Weaver.
Which way to talk? When was the owner apprised of the fact that we might be instituting eminent domain?
Mr. Weaver, we have not instituted any.
He had no idea this was going to happen until when?
Well, we've made an offer to purchase the property
When?
sometime in November, I believe. November of last year.
And we got this notice when?
And then we sent the offer, the invitation to participate
Yes.
in December of last year.
And when did we get it?
See if there's a date, February 5th, 2010.
So a month and a half or so after, then he decided
Yes,
on to participate.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Barry, did you? Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Najarian.
I guess just so I'm sort of sorting this through, I think we haven't done this for a while. Again, back to the issue at hand, it's whether whether we would like the owner of this property to participate, to be the main, let's say, project versus the Mona project. So a matter of time, the request was for a matter of time. There's, a matter of 5 days, whether they're going to seek either to negotiate with the agency or whether to seek tenant in the property really isn't the key question here. It's they've indicated that they'd like to continue business versus this more encompassing plan that we, obviously staff,
That is correct.
supports.
That is correct. And what you're looking at is, what is the proposal we want to move forward on?
So I'm not sure that the question of Mr. Astorian is something that we can answer for asking for more time, unless he's going to come up with a comprehensive proposal. The fact that there's one retailer in there versus another isn't so much the issue here.
I would agree with you.
Are there any other comments?
Well, he's asking to participate in keeping the same area, not expand it, is he?
That's correct.
He just wants to keep his
To keep his-
1,250 square foot.
That is correct.
The rest he doesn't care about. We'd have two new tenants there rather than one. Possible.
I'm sorry. We're all still learning, folks, where to look.
Keep looking at me, and
I keep looking over there to see Mr. Lanzafame, and all I see is an attorney staring back at me, so...
I might have to reverse some of this.
Okay. All right. Mr. Lanzafame, anything else?
Nothing else
All
unless
right.
there's
I have no
questions.
other speaker cards. I will then close the public hearing. So, we have on the agenda, a resolution.
Well, I
And
would
ladies and gentlemen, as chair, I can't do a thing with it, so...
I would move 6A1,
Second.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that
Well-
before we vote?
Now, I was just thinking, because we do this so rarely, that's why I asked the timeline. He's known for a month or two about this and has done nothing. We just get this today about it. What is fair in something like this? Making it by eminent domain, is 5 days going to make a difference? It comes back next week, or, I'm trying to find what is fair in the process. Because eminent domain is a very strong weapon that city governments can use. So what is fair.
Mr. Starbird.
Well, and if I can, you're not taking that step of eminent domain here this afternoon.
Right.
So that trigger has not been pulled. There's still discussions to have both with the owner who made the proposal to bring a retailer into his existing site, as well as with Mona. My suggestion would be, our recommendation would be, take the action before you this evening to pick the proposal that you think best achieves the objectives of the redevelopment plan, which your staff believes is the Mona proposal over the entire site. We can still meet with Mr. Astorian and bring him up to speed and talk about the options that his client might have, certainly with respect to a sale of the property. But the eminent domain question isn't before you this afternoon. So there's a lot of discussions to be had yet.
Just, Mr. Chairman,
Lansing.
just to clarify, there is no eminent domain question in front of you, nor has there been
Right.
on this property.
Right.
I
Correct.
just wanted to be clear on that.
Right. I slipped.
Just a
I'm
clarification.
used to having an attorney right next to me to catch me when I went the wrong way. The only thing that they ought to realize that property, go back and look at the police records in there. On that property, how many times the police were there. That property was a very big problem area, and it had to be eliminated. One way or another, either redevelopment, something new. We couldn't have there what has been in the past.
All right. If there are no other comments, the item has been moved and seconded. Mr. Kasakian.
Agency members Friedman,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Chairman Draymond.
Yes. Thank you very much. Our next item, please.
Any agency member or staff comments?
If there are no others, I do have one. And Mr., I'm still doing it, I'm whirling around to see the city attorney is on the far right here. Related to whether or not this is the forum or whether this should be council, I don't know. So you'll advise me. I would like to see agendized a report or a discussion to be brought to council changing the issue of our 1% contribution to the art, to public art, to change not the percentage, but to change the direction of those funds as to whether it goes into a public art fund for the city, where those funds can, the expense of those or the use of those funds can be recommended by the Arts and Culture Commission, ultimately the council making a final decision on the use of those funds or on those recommendations, as opposed to the current program. There are reasons why I'd like to do this, but I won't get into that now. And I'd like to know if is this the proper venue for that? Or?
Yes,
Okay.
as long as you get concurrence from one other member.
I concur.
All right. So I would appreciate that. Thank you very much. I have no other comments. Are there any other comments or from staff or agents? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Welcome to the joint